This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Okay, so many wonderful calls to choose from. So let me throw a dart and go to Debbie in Michigan. Good morning, Debbie. Welcome.
Good morning, Patrick. Thank you for taking my call.
Happy to.
You're the reason why I'm Catholic, just so you know.
What?
Anyway, I just converted
well, thank you.
2 years ago. So
God is the reason,
anyway,
of course, right? But I'm glad he had...
But you had a huge influence.
I'm glad. Thank you, Debbie.
So here's my question. I'm working in a spa right now, and I just found out in a meeting yesterday that we've been allowing transgender men into our women's locker room.
Uh-oh.
And I was so upset. I had to leave the meeting. I went home and I just cried. How? So in my mind, I'm thinking, do I quit? Do I speak up more against this? Do I throw a fit? What do I do? I just don't know how to handle this as a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Maybe
question.
all of the above. You may need to do all of the above. I'm not laughing because it's funny, because obviously it's causing you anguish, and I'm really sorry you're in this situation. You shouldn't have to be in that situation. Has it been historically a women's only spa?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, it's men and women. It's a resort, so there's men and women.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a couple questions. This will help me. In this spa, in the steam rooms, for example, the saunas and such, do men and women go into the same steam room together? Would that be typical, or would there be a women's steam room and a men's steam room?
They're separate, women's and men's steam. So the women's locker room is separate from the men's locker room.
Okay, and that's how it should be.
And how this came up is someone wanted signs to show which one was which, and they said no, because we don't discriminate against anyone. I'm like, what? What does that mean? And then it came up.
Yeah, what it means is they're discriminating against women in the name of not discriminating against transgender, men who are presenting themselves as women. So you're the one who's being discriminated against. What a strange turn of irony that is. Well, if my initial thought would be, if you think there could be a chance that your objecting to this would change their stupid policy, then object to it. And maybe just object to it anyway. But there may be other women, and chances are there are, who feel just like you do, and maybe some of the men do too. So if there were an uprising among the employees to say, stop this, that could have the desired effect. And they may reverse course and not do that. They may say, you're fired. And, my thinking is, I wouldn't want my wife working in a spa where men could come into the women's section dressed, presenting as women. That puts her in danger. I wouldn't want my daughters doing that. And so as a father, as a husband, I would object to it on those grounds because it's unsafe. Not to mention the potential for you being ogled or harassed or in some other way that doesn't involve violence. I would object to that for sure. So if I were in your situation, I would object to it, see if you get other people to object to it, demand that they change it. And if they won't change it, well, I would look for a different job. And I know that's not always easy, but if you're in danger spiritually and physically, is it really worth it to be in a place that doesn't care about you? I mean, talk about disrespect. The owners of the spa obviously disrespect you as a woman because they're willing to put you in this, dangerous situation. I wouldn't want to work for a company that disrespected me that way.
I know. And Patrick, it made me cry. I was so upset. I walked out of the meeting and nobody stood up for me. They could clearly understand what I was saying, my concerns, and nobody in the room stood up for me. No.
I'll bet you that's because those who agree with you were afraid. They're afraid to take a stand. They're afraid for people to not like them. They're afraid of a confrontation. They're afraid of losing their jobs. And I mean, those are real fears, but what a pity that other people didn't have the courage to stand up and say, she's right. This policy is wrong. And it's going to get somebody hurt at some point. And don't you want to keep valuable employees like Debbie? And if you don't care about your employees and you don't respect them and just good old common sense, then maybe there would be an exodus of other people who would just say, I can't work here anymore. Is it a mom and pop operation or is it part of a chain?
Oh, no, it's a corporation.
Yeah.
It's a huge corporation. They own other spas throughout the United States.
I see. Well, shame on them. Shame on them.
Yes. So, it's a corporation that's gone woke. They've gone cashless. I mean, that's the situation. So I feel so defeated, and I just feel like I need to leave it. But I just wanted to ask what your opinion was on it.
Well,
and how do you deal with it? Because I know other people are dealing with it too.
Well, there are things you can do. You can talk to the boss and just say, this doesn't work for me. And I happen to know other people in the company who feel the same way I do. You're creating a hostile work environment. So you start using the language of lawsuits. Hostile work environment, sexual harassment. Start using those terms, because that's, by the way, what's going on here. And they'll either fire you in a red hot hurry, or they're going to say, uh-oh, we have a whistleblower on our hands. We've got a problem employee on our hands, and they might start trying to, build a paper trail of documenting quote unquote mistakes on your part so they could fire you without fear of a lawsuit. But you could get a lawyer and see about filing a lawsuit. This is a hostile work environment. They're putting the employees in potential danger. There is the serious risk of sexual harassment, and maybe there already is some, so you could document that, and who knows, this company may say, how much will it take for you to go away? I don't know. But
okay. I
would stand up against it. And I know it's easier for me to say than it is to do, because it's your livelihood and you rely upon that income. I understand that. So I'm not suggesting this lightly, but there are, far worse things that could happen. And I would just hate the thought of you, if you were my daughter or my wife, I would just hate the thought of you being in that predicament. That would be my advice, personally.
Okay. I really appreciate your advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Debbie. I hope there's a happy ending here. You can join me by listening to The Patrick Madrid Show on the Relevant Radio app, live each weekday at 8 to 11 a.m. And thanks for listening.